I wanted to now touch on the Suns side of the recent seismic 3-team deal that involved the Milwaukee Bucks, the Portland Trail Blazers, and the Suns, where Damian Lillard is now a Buck. The Suns shipped away Deandre Ayton, which is very fitting considering that, of course, that happens after I drop a Deandre Ayton is the Suns' X Factor type of video, and then he gets traded for a lot of depth. And I had a lot of mixed feelings about the Suns sending away DeAndre Ayton. On the one hand, I'm glad Ayton will have the opportunity to get more of a runway to develop and do the stuff that he wants to try out and see if he's good at, and the Portland Trail Blazers will definitely give him enough opportunities to try and develop that, which was not afforded to him in Phoenix, especially after the Kevin Durant trade, and is now especially after the Bradley Beal trade. But the Suns, in return, out of the whole 3-team deal, they get back Jusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Keon Johnson, and Nasir Little, and they basically added a lot of depth. And at first I wasn't sure about the move, but the more I think about it, the more I'm talking myself into the Suns part of the trade, especially offensively, and with the amount of depth that they have. Now, defensively, I still have a lot of questions, but the premise of my Ayton video was if he could just walk in now that he has a new sort of fresh start with new management and a new coaching staff. Turns out he just wanted out of Phoenix, and the Suns were out on Ayton. So that's a moot point. And it's also a moot point because if Ayton didn't lock in, the Suns were kind of screwed anyway. So maybe it is a downgrade defensively from Ayton to Nurkic potentially, but offensively, I could see the vision. Nurkic does a lot of dribble handoff stuff. We saw him do that a lot with the Trailblazers during his time in Portland. And now the Suns have 3 off-ball players that can move off the ball, kind of like what I mentioned in my Ayton video. Jusuf Nurkic is also one of the best screeners in the NBA, which is kind of not talked about enough when talking about Nurkic. He's a player on the decline. I'm not as high on Jusuf Nurkic as I used to be, but there is still some stuff Nurkic can do that will help the Suns out offensively. And the other thing is Nurkic does need to be better finishing around the rim, but with the space he has and the offensive players he's playing with, that could maybe help that a little bit, and you'll take the defensive slippage, especially if Frank Vogel can just, scheme around that and hopefully bank on 35-year-old Kevin Durant having another really good defensive season, Devin Booker and Bradley Beal being impact defenders at the point of attack, etc. But I could see the vision where the Suns wanted Nurkic and how they feel about his offensive fit around their 3 best players compared to Ayton. So I can kind of get it from that standpoint. Then, of course, you get Grayson Allen. One, he's going to be a solid innings eater in the regular season, and he's somebody who shot 40% from 3 on a lot of attempts since his rookie year, because his rookie year he shot 32%. I'm willing to throw that out the window, obviously. But you can run dribble handoffs with him. You can run off-ball sets with him. And he's somebody that's a good Landry Shamet replacement. But Grayson Allen, he commands gravity. He could shoot, attack a closeout. He's just somebody that's solid in the rotation, which is what the Suns needed. And then you get Nasir Little, who is often injured, but I liked the trajectory he was on in Portland before all these injuries, and that's going to be the thing with him. Every year he's been injured, but ideal 6'5", big, strong guy that was getting better shooting the 3 ball. Last year he was at 36% before injuries once again cut his season short. But on a team that needs a lot of big, stocky perimeter defenders, especially to do all the dirty work and cover defensively for the big 3 who's going to have a lot of offensive responsibility. The Suns needed to add some wings to the room, and I think Nasir Little is a great get in this trade. Keon Johnson, somebody who's going to be on the fringe rotation, but I like him as well. He's somebody that's nice to have on the back end because I actually think he's pretty talented and just some high upside guy that's on the back end of your rotation, and who knows, maybe he'll develop, but he probably won't get many rotation minutes. but I like all the pieces the Suns got back. They are clearly leaning towards we're going to be an awesome offensive team, and we'll figure out the defense later on as, we develop an identity as we get closer to the playoffs, and as we figure out throughout the year which lineups are going to be effective in terms of figuring out closing lineups, which players fit with who, because there are a bunch of new players on this team now. It was actually kind of hilarious to see some of the comments on my Deandre Ayton video, because I put up my Western Conference tiers at the beginning of that video, and people somehow were questioning why the Warriors were in the contender tier, like their big three didn't win 4 championships. They just couldn't understand why I had a team that has great chemistry, has been together forever, why I would put that team over a team that, by the way, I had knocking on the door as a contender. I just needed to see how it would all gel, considering there were 9 new players at the time and a new coaching staff, and now there's even more new players. So I still want to see how it gels, because you can't just automatically romp your way to a championship unless you're the Warriors signing Kevin Durant, or you're the Miami Heat and you get LeBron, D Wade, Chris Bosh. So anyway, that rant's over. I just had to get that off my chest. But again, with this trade, with the Suns addressing their depth, now they don't have to rely on 3 or 4 of their low minimum, vet minimum signings all working out, because that's just not how the NBA works, especially going into an offseason. The Suns made a lot of nice, low-risk, high-upside signings that I liked, but that doesn't mean they're all going to pan out. Now, you could hope for maybe 1 or 2 of them to pan out. Hell, even 3, because I really like Keita Bates-Diop. I also like Yuta Watanabe. I'm not high on Bol Bol, sorry. Those highlights from last year aren't fooling me as much as I like, big, long players. Jordan Goodwin and Ish Wainwright might get the axe now, because, that's just, they have to cut the roster down, and I think those are the 2 likely candidates now after this trade. But now, if you look at the Suns' full roster and rotation, you kind of feel better about it. They're not as thin as they were when they had Deandre Ayton, and that was kind of also another reason why I made the X Factor video for Deandre Ayton, because he was the one player that I thought could cover up some of, the thinness across the Suns roster. But now you got your big 3 in Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant. There's no illusions about who the ball is going through. It's those top 3 guys. Then you got Jusuf Nurkic to initiate offense. You got Grayson Allen, Nasir Little. Eric Gordon is the one signing or trade that everybody keeps sleeping on. He's going to be in closing lineups in the playoffs. It's going to be Eric Gordon at the 3, Kevin Durant at the 4, Booker, Beal, and then Nurkic. You got Drew Eubanks, who is a very capable rim running center that can dunk the ball and just get all of his shots at the rim. And then you see what you get out of Josh Okogie, who was there last year and is a hellacious defender, but, can't shoot, obviously. Damian Lee can shoot, but gets destroyed defensively. And then you just see how the rest of the roster plays out. Maybe Keita Bates-Diop, continues his, career trajectory after having a really good year with the Spurs last year. Maybe Yuta Watanabe continues to just shoot 5,500% on corner threes like he did with the Nets last year, and he has chemistry with Kevin Durant, and the dude plays hard. So now the Suns have a lot of options. Now I want to see how those gel. I want to see what Frank Vogel does now. I want to see how Frank Vogel is going to scheme up, a top 15-ish defense, because that is the one concern I have about with the Suns, especially now that Jusuf Nurkic is going to be on that back line. I'm sure the Suns are going to play a lot more drop. They're probably not going to have Jusuf switch at all, actually. They're probably not going to be able to play Jusuf at the level. Maybe with Drew Eubanks, you can also switch up the scheme a little bit. Maybe Chimezie Metu is your 3rd big that makes the roster, and maybe he can provide a little change-up, a 3rd pitch, if you will. At first, I was a little queasy about trading away Ayton, but with the goals the Suns want to accomplish, slashing money long-term because of the new CBA that took effect, and basically just making no illusions about it that Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker are going to be the top 3 guys on the team offensively. End all, be all, no discussion, no distractions. I could see the vision for the Suns. Now, it's about putting that vision together.